You've asked me on multiple occasions which one I prefer, gum trag or Tokonole, and today we're going to put them to the test. That's coming up. Hello everyone, my name's Daniel Reeks. This is Weaver Leather Supply. Today, we're going to take a look at a question that you've asked me on multiple occasions. Which one's better, gum trag or Tokonole? Now, this isn't exactly one of the great questions of life, and our test is going to be somewhat subjective, but we're going to put them both to the test today and see what we see. Now, the first thing that we need to get out of the way is that this is not a tutorial on how to slick the edges of your projects. Now, you could do it this way and get some really good results, but there's 1,000 different ways on how to slick the edges of stuff. You can use beeswax and all kinds of other stuff out there. So this is not a tutorial on how to slick edges. We're simply comparing gum trag and Tokonole to see, subjectively which one comes out on top. So how is this going to work? Well, it's going to be pretty simple. I'm going to take each of our 3 contestants and apply it to the edge of the leather. After I do that, I'm going to hit the start button on the stopwatch. I'm going to slick the edge for a total of 1 minute on each of them. Then we're going to do the same thing to the back of all 3 pieces. Just so you know, each piece of leather that we're using today is 5-ounce Herman oak. They were all taken from the same portion of leather. And, it's as even as I can make it between 3 different pieces of leather. First up is the control, also known as water. Water actually did a really good job. I was kind of surprised. Now, obviously, I've used water to slick an edge before, but it's been a while, and it did a good job. This will work in a pinch if you don't have some other slicking agent like gum trag or Tokonole. Next up is going to be gum trag. Now, this is a Old Faithful. It's been used forever. It always works. One of the downsides to it for me is that because of its thickness, it's kind of like jelly. It doesn't go through a needle bottle really well, which means you have to use a dauber. Well, at least that's the way I do it. You have to use a dauber to apply it, which means it can be a little bit more messy. But let's see how it does. Gum trag did a good job. It's got a nice slick edge on it. We're not going to get into the details of the pros and cons of it just yet. We're going to save that for the end of the video, but it did a good job. Next up is the one I use all the time, and that's going to be Tokonole. Not gonna lie, I was a little bit surprised. Now, I'm not gonna tell you how it did just yet. We're gonna save that for the end of the video, but I was a little bit surprised. Next up, we're gonna be slicking the back of the leather. And to do that, I'm gonna be using this thing. It's just a rectangle shaped piece of leather. It fits really nicely in my hand. I bent it in half and then put rivets on each side of it so it'll hold that shape, hold that curve. This side I use for anything that's clear like gum trag or Tokonole, and this side I use for anything that's got color in it. This thing is fantastic if you don't have one of the more professional glass slickers. It does a great job. So with that done, it's time to crown a winner. And since we're really comparing gum trag and Tokonole, we're gonna take the control, set that aside. We'll come back to that in just a second. If we're looking at the edges between gum trag and Tokonole, I gotta say, I'm a little surprised gum trag takes it. And the reason I say that, as I run my finger over the edge that I burnished with gum trag, I really don't feel any of the fibers. If I do that over the Tokonole, I can just feel the smallest of fibers sticking up. Now keep in mind, this is a really small margin that we're talking about here. It's not like gum trag blew Tokonole out of the water, but I can definitely feel those fibers still sticking up over here, whereas with the gum trag, I really can't feel that. And if we flip it over and look at the back, well, it's the same story. Gum trag is much, much slicker than the Tokonole is. I can feel those fibers in there as I run my finger over it, where I can barely feel them with the gum trag. So surprisingly enough, gum trag takes it. So if gum trag's the winner, how does it stack up against plain old water? Well, if I run my finger over the edges of both, this one, the control, I can still feel those fibers sticking up. And it's actually worse than the Tokonole was by quite a bit. And that's on both sides. This side's not as bad, but yeah, I can definitely still feel the fibers sticking up, which I don't feel that with the gum trag. So while water's going to work in a pinch, it definitely doesn't hold up to what you're going to get with gum trag. So between the three, the winner's gum trag. Hope you found that helpful. I will see you in the next video. In the meantime, go make something amazing.